Hey everyone, it's Dave here.
And it's Tom again.
So we're back with another look at Resident Evil 6. This time we're comparing the game across 5 different platforms. And really what we're looking to find out here is just to see how much of a remastering process has actually been done on the game.
So, bullet point summary. We've got 1080p on both sides, but are there any visual changes?
Not between PS4 and Xbox One, we're actually looking at a nice identical presentation on both. So native 1080p with the same post-process style anti-aliasing.
Okay, and how do you think it holds up visually? You know, the move to 1080p is kind of fraught with the issues of assets that aren't meant to be run at this resolution. Does it actually hold up at 1080p?
I guess it depends on what parts of the game you look at. The characters, for example, hold up rather well. Texture detail is pretty high quality there, but if you're looking at the environments, and it's a bit of a mixed bag. You know, you get some textures which look quite blurry and low resolution, while others, you know, tend to stand out. Tend to fare a little bit better.
I mean, it does look of its time, doesn't it? It was a last gen effort primarily made for PS3 and Xbox 360, so the assets, textures, effects all look kind of that era, but we're getting that bump to 1080p, which kind of, you know, it gives it that pristine look, but not everything is equally treated in that way.
Exactly, yeah. I guess the thing with the 1080p here is that whatever detail wasn't showing up in the original assets before now comes through more clearly, but obviously the downside is the lower quality artwork doesn't really hold up.
So let's compare it to the original PC version, which came out in 2013, I believe, a year after the last gen versions. Now this is kind of like the fairest point of reference, I guess, because we could run it at 1080p back then. But do you see any changes in the meantime? It's been 3 years. Anything changed whatsoever in that time for PS4?
The only real difference here is the anti-aliasing method between the two versions. In terms of like the core artwork and stuff, we're looking at the same artwork used now in the PS4 and indeed the Xbox One releases that were used back for the PC game.
So the top quality settings.
The top quality settings,
which is what
yes.
You'd expect.
Indeed, yeah, but there hasn't been any sort of additional remastering process beyond that. It's pretty much just a straight port of assets. The anti-aliasing differences, we've got FXAA3 HQ on the PC versus another custom post-process solution on PS4 and Xbox One.
Yeah, so FXAA3 HQ is kind of a standard setting for MT framework games. We saw it on Resident Evil and a bunch of others. But in analysing the PS4 side closely, I noticed, you know, it's a bit different. The style of coverage isn't quite the same on all edges, and it's almost like an MSAA effect, isn't it, underneath? I'm not sure if it is exactly that, but there is another pass going on which we're not seeing on PC.
Yeah, it certainly looks that way. You can see occasional sort of extra bits of shimmering on PS4. I think when you play the game sort of separately rather than back to back, they still look very similar. PC probably has the edge in coverage, but overall it's a very minor difference. Nothing to really give one version a massive, you know, a clear benefit over the other. Really where we see the PS4 and Xbox One versions really take point is when held up against the original last gen console releases.
Yeah, you'd hope to see some sort of vault in quality. We're going from, was it a native 720 on the last gen?
Native 720 with a kind of post-process edge filter, which tended to blur over some of the artwork. And when comparing that with the PS4 version here, the extra 1080p resolution improved AA basically just brings a lot more clarity to the scene. Even if the actual artwork hasn't been improved, we do notice some extra little bits of details that previously were a bit smudged over.
One thing I have noticed is the field of view has kind of changed in certain scenes on PC compared to PS4, and also last gen compared to PS4 as well.
Yes, basically the remastered version, Capcom's default field of view is actually a lot wider, so you get to see more of the environment and characters. And it kind of looks a lot more closer to the Resident Evil Revelations series, so I guess they're trying to go back to a more similar style to the old games there.
So they're kind of standardising the style of camera and the way it hangs over the shoulder as you're shooting and that sort of thing.
Yes. The good news is though, if you do prefer the sort of tighter field of view of the original game, you can actually adjust it on PS4 and Xbox One, so you can get it to look exactly as it did before. So for purists, you know, you're not being left out here. Capcom have done a good job on that side of things.
Oh, that's good to hear. And besides that, we have the boost to 60 frames per second on the current gen consoles as well, which is a big leap over the 30 FPS we had before.
Yeah, that's the real game changer here. Well, that about wraps up for today. If you enjoyed this analysis, don't forget to give us a like and subscribe. And until next time, thanks for watching.